Welcome to the Tax Talk, where we examine tax administration in Lagos State and connect policy to practical governance. My name is Titilayo Oyinson, and on this show, we aim to bring clarity to the systems that support development, accountability, and economic growth. We begin with business news. Stay with us.
This is business news. Lagos State Governor Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu has commended the performance of the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service (LIRS), describing it as a critical driver of the state's economic growth, while calling for greater autonomy for tax agencies across the country. Sanwo-Olu spoke at the State House, Marina, while hosting members of the Joint Revenue Board, JRB, for its 159th meeting, which held from Monday, April 20th to Thursday, April 23rd, 2026. According to him, the state recorded about 1.3 trillion naira in revenue in 2024, a significant increase attributed to reforms by the LIRS, including digital tax systems, expansion of tax base, and improved taxpayer engagement. Sanwo-Olu said internally generated revenue now accounts for over 60% of Lagos's budget, stressing that the success was not accidental but the result of consistent policy direction and innovation. He, however, urged governors across the country to grant tax agencies full operational independence and tenure. The governor also reassured residents that taxes paid are being translated into visible development, citing major infrastructure projects such as rail lines, road expansion, healthcare facilities, and new universities. Earlier, LIRS Executive Chairman Dr. Ayodele Subair described the Joint Revenue Board as a key platform for strengthening Nigeria's tax system, especially following the introduction of new tax laws. He added that the new tax laws had made coordination even more urgent. Subair noted that Lagos's hosting of the meeting again after 5 years reflected the state's leadership as Nigeria's economic nerve center. Also speaking, Executive Secretary of the Board Olusegun Adesokan commended Lagos for its strong revenue performance, describing the state as a benchmark for tax administration in Nigeria. He noted that Lagos's revenue growth over the years reflects sustained reforms and effective governance. And that's it on Business News.
Welcome back. Corporate Talk is where we sit with the people responsible for administering and executing tax laws in Lagos State, helping us better understand how reforms translate into real-world implementation. Corporate Talk is where we engage senior officials responsible for shaping the administration in the state, and today's conversation focuses on strategic direction and institutional leadership. I'm joined by the Executive Chairman of the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, Dr. Ayo Subair. Dr. Subair, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, so I'm really interested in so many angles to this topic, especially with the enactment of the NTAA, that's the Nigeria Tax Administration Act for 2025, and of course the NTA 2025. Now, talk to us about your strategic assessment of the overall direction of these reforms. Now, what they signal for both Lagos State and the LIRS specifically.
Okay, so at this point, no need to talk about the fact that there are new tax laws in place. These new tax laws bring with them a lot of changes to what has been happening in the tax environment. First of all, the new tax laws come with a lot of simplicity. That is arguable, though. Some citizens still feel it's a bit complex. But trust me, there's a huge attempt to simplify and make things, streamline things, reduce number of processes and all that. So at the end of the day, it's supposed to be simple. It's supposed to harmonize, all the tax laws between the different tiers of government, federal, state, and local governments. It's supposed to bring in a bit more rules around enforcement. It's supposed to also tell citizenry how to carry out their tax affairs. And at the end of the day, it's going to lead to better tax administration.
Sir, the NTAA 2025, it introduces a unified taxpayer registration architecture. It's anchored on a single tax identification number. It goes across all tiers of government. So how exactly is LIRS reconfiguring its registration infrastructure to align with this national system while also maintaining its operational identity?
Yes, so we all know that every individual needs to have an identity. You have passports to show that you're Nigerian or African or whatever. In the same way, every individual, every citizen or resident of a state needs to be identified, which is how come we've traditionally had a taxpayer identity. So we're taking it a notch higher now, or rather the nation is taking it a notch higher by introducing the TIN. So all the states have their different configuration of taxpayer ID. But this one now is 13 digits and operated centrally by the Joint Revenue Board. So basically, every jurisdiction at the end of the day is going to key into this, TIN system.
Sure.
Because it's going to be generated centrally, like I said. And it means that it's possible to track all taxpayers at the end of the day in a streamlined, organized manner. So in terms of LRS keying into this philosophy of having a centralized TIN, we have upgraded our systems, basically. So we've integrated, or we are integrated with the Joint Revenue Board, and both forward and backward integration. So we can feed off information from them, and they can also, because it's critical for them also to have all the data and statistics from our own end.
Okay.
So we're there now, we're fully integrated, and it's going to be very easy. And the GRB has also released like a portal for the citizenry. So ideally, there should be no pain at all in getting your TIN number.
I love that term, ideally.
Yes.
Have there been challenges so far?
Yes, there will. In every new system or new law, there's always bound to be challenges. So it's been simplified. Any individual can actually, all you need to be armed with is your national ID number, the NIN. Once you have the NIN, you type it into the portal, type your surname, type your NIN. Automatically, your TIN is generated.
All right.
Yes.
It's great to hear that it's been simplified to that level. As long as you have your NIN, your national identification number, registration should be seamless. And hopefully it'll continue to do so. But then we could move on to the question of voluntary compliance. Because it does feel like for many Nigerians, you have to really use a firm hand when getting people to comply. So it remains a cornerstone, especially when it comes to the NTAA 2025. The recent payee reforms under the NTAA 2025, including the elimination of the consolidated relief allowance and the revised personal income tax structure. When it comes to the most significant structural shifts, that is one for the decade, if you ask me. But talk to us from your leadership perspective. What communication strategies and institutional support mechanisms is LIRS deploying at present to make this an easy transition?
Okay, so in life, there will always be changes. And the change management is very, very important in any situation. So we have a duty to actually enlighten the residents of Lagos or taxpayers generally on all the expectations, all their responsibilities and obligations. So it works both ways. We also let them know from our perspective what is going to happen. So at the end of the day, it's about looking at our communication strategies and our machinery, oiling that machinery to make sure that we are getting the right information out there. So this involves so many things. I like to always look at it first from the perspective, internal perspective of capacity building. We have to train our staff because at the end of the day, they are going to be the ones who are going to, communicate with a lot of interact with people. Yeah. It won't always be the chairman or a director. Down the line, everybody must be aware of all the new changes in the tax laws, and they must be able to communicate it. Yeah. So training, that's taken care of. There are other strategies, including the issuance of public notices. Okay. So we have quite a number of public notices that we have already issued. And the public notices just have a duty of explaining, talking about the basis for the announcement. Okay. And sort of talking about the expectations from members of the public. It just basically, simplifies and breaks down the expectation. Then we also have frequently asked questions. So from time to time, we create and we update this all the time. Anytime there's a change, we look at our FAQs and try to update them. And the aim at the end of the day is for members of the public to actually be able to look at any situation and look at the FAQ that talks broadly around the questions or the inquiries they're trying to make. So the FAQs are also very important. We also invest heavily in social media.
I was actually going to ask about that. The online space seems to be where a lot of people are. So the public announcements include the online space?
Yes. So we have a website. Okay. LIRS has a website, and the website has almost everything you need to know about LIRS, about the tax laws, and even on a national level and local government level, all the information that you need to know. We also have we're subscribed to all the social media handles, Instagram, and so whichever social media handle that one is used to, we're definitely hooked on to that. And then we have investments. We have Tax Talk, which we expect to enlighten a lot of the citizenry. So we look at every possible angle. We have talks with like professional business associations, unions, all the various associations. So it's all about spreading the gospel of tax.
Indeed. And I would love to take a pause there because there's still quite a lot that we need to discuss. However, we need to take a short break. But when we return, we'll continue this conversation and explore the digital economy, enforcement frameworks, and what these reforms actually mean for businesses and individuals across Lagos State. Stay with us.
The Tax Talk, your infotainment program.
Welcome back. Now we are speaking with Dr. Subair, the Executive Chairman of LIRS. And we're speaking on the strategic direction and implementation of the new tax reforms. It's time for us to continue. Are you with me, sir?
Very much so.
All right. So let's go straight into the NTAA 2025, which establishes for the first time a format framework for virtual asset service providers and digital transactions. This hasn't happened before now. So let's talk about how LIRS positioning itself to monitor, to administer compliance, and it is quite a big economy. It's an expanding digital economy. So how are we working on this?
Okay, so this is a very new area to us, like you said. And we really have a lot of work that we're doing to get acquainted with the way that industry works. So virtual asset service providers, including those that trade in like cryptocurrency, in tokens, generally the fintechs, and just general digital service providers. So what we have done, just like I said before, there's got to be some internal learning. That's the very first place to start. So in terms of capacity building, we've had to start to train our staff so that they are acquainted with what happens in that industry. One of the other things that we've done is first to streamline and understand the revenue streams that come from this type of business. It's globally it's not new. It's just that Nigeria did not adopt, all the new rules that we're having to engage with now. So part of what we have done, of course, is to look at our infrastructure and to see that we're well prepared, because we rely on a lot of data. We need to source data for us to work with. And if we're sourcing for data, we need to have the right infrastructure to be able to interrogate all the data that comes in. So we're well aligned with all the necessary things, change all our templates, increase our data storage. Okay. Because for us to receive all the data, we have to make sure that we have the right apparatus because it comes with a lot of data. So the law compels all the service providers to report their transactions.
So even in the spaces where, for instance, the crypto space you mentioned earlier on, where there's basically no paper trail, I'm wondering what sort of things you would put in place in order to track those kinds of service providers.
Yes, it's all technology. We have to leverage on technology. And in a lot of the data that we are going to be interrogating and interacting with, a lot of it is going to come really from the federal level. Okay. Because it's not efficient anyway for all the states to plug into all the systems nationwide. It's just not efficient. So we all expect to work through the Joint Revenue Board. So all these service providers, from time to time, and the banking institutions will turn in certain information and data. Sure. And the JRB will sort out, mine, and then make available to Lagos State, for instance, all the data that relates to the transactions going on in Lagos State. So we are ready, for this part of the business.
It is quite a new business. Even all over the world, there's still many conversations going on how to properly administer laws to those particular sectors. But permit me to move along. There's still quite a lot for us to get through. The NTA 2025 grants tax authorities expanded enforcement powers now, including distraint of assets and substitution over third-party funds. A lot of people are talking about this. So how does LIRS ensure that these powers are exercised proportionately as well as transparently, especially in a manner that sustains taxpayers' confidence?
Okay, so this has generated a lot of inquiries from taxpayers, from citizens across the nation, not just in Lagos State. So from our own end, tax is law, really. So we have to follow what the laws say. Now there's a provision for almost everything we do in terms of reporting, in terms of adjudication, in terms of following due process. But at the end of the day, LIRS is more interested in voluntary compliance rather than applying the stick all the time. We like to respect all the taxpayers. The taxpayers are our customers. So just like any other industry, we have to make sure that we're keeping them happy and satisfied. And part of the way we keep them satisfied is by the enlightenment and the advocacy. So, but for all the compliant taxpayers, there's usually no problem. the issue with the ones that do not want to comply. And there are provisions in the law on how to deal with non-compliant taxpayers. So the reports, assessments are raised, objections come in, reconciliation exercises happen, final assessments come into place. And then there's a whole load of steps that go on, so that the LRS wants to exhaust all the opportunities to get people to comply and to pay up when assessments have been raised. But of course, there will still be some members of the public who...
What's that term? Recalcitrant. I've heard
there
that
are
term.
a lot of recalcitrant taxpayers. There are also some who willfully want to neglect their responsibilities. So the law provides for how to deal with all these situations. And of course, at the end of the day, if there is need, we go to the courts. But the new laws also have brought some other institutions. Yes, we've always had tax appeal tribunals, but everything has now been looked at again, and there's a renewal in the way they operate. There's also the tax ombudsman that has been introduced.
Okay.
And his own job really is just to see that all the processes have gone through, due process has taken place. And in terms of a power of substitution, there's been a lot of interest around that. People have been worried.
Sure.
Some people have gone, spread a lot of misinformation, telling people that the government is just going to take money from your account.
Is this actually possible?
It's not possible, and it's not true.
Okay.
So what the power of substitution says, Section 60 deals with this. And basically, until all due process has taken place and the assessment is truly final, then the government can leverage on the provisions of the power of substitution. Anybody who is owing that taxpayer will be obligated to pay up the portion of what he owes to the state government through LRS. So it's not quite as simple as no responsible government will ever pass such a law that will just dip their hands into anybody's bank account. So it's a total falsehood, and people should be rest assured that the state and LRS are very fair organizations. We go by rule of law, and we follow due process.
So you use the term owing. Sorry to digress back. The term owing, it makes reference to possibly a landlord, maybe who has tenants. If the landlord is owing, for instance, are you saying that the third-party obligation then takes or reaches out to the third party?
If the tenant,
the tenant
is owing the landlord,
okay,
whether it's owing or even for rental amounts that are due,
okay,
right, we can exercise the power of substitution on the tenant.
Interesting.
And the tenant will be required to pay the requisite rent into the state government account through, of course, LRS account.
Okay.
So basically, once the tenant gets served, he has an obligation. And not just landlord and tenant situation. If, for instance, a citizen has a fixed deposit in a financial institution, we can also attack the fixed deposit and exercise that power of substitution. We write to the banks, and what the bank will do is to, turn the amount over, just to the extent of the liability. It cannot be. And even if the amount doesn't meet up with the liability, it means that we can still exercise that power of substitution on other means.
With interest?
Already there's a penalty.
There's already a penalty,
yes,
so okay,
so
all right.
We won't go beyond that.
Mr. Governor, we sincerely acknowledge your visionary leadership
and continued support for tax administration in Lagos State. The progress recorded in revenue growth, digital transformation, and taxpayer engagement under your administration has positioned Lagos as a model for sub-national revenue management.
Your Excellency, your sustained support for the activities of the Joint Revenue Board underscores the high priority you accord to effective revenue administration and its critical contribution to sustainable development. It is therefore not surprising that Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, under the able leadership of the Chairman of Chairmen, Mr. Ayodele Subair, remains the leading sub-national revenue authority in Nigeria.
For us, it's really about our citizens. It's about the people that has given us the trust to believe in us, for them to pay these taxes as and when due. And for us as a government, my deputy and I are consistently committed to ensure that we will leave this place a lot better than we've met it.
Mr. Sellable, Mr. Blue, and the red line, we can do better for Mr. Governor, Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu. Thank you very much.
We cannot compare where we were 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago to now. So it's a continuous effort by the state government. So we just urge people to continue to pay their taxes. When they pay their taxes, the government will surely deliver world-class infrastructure.